cabin mates were chatting on a cold night at a campfire in 1988. They were sharing stories around a campfire, and the three storytellers came up with a story set in Rome, Italy, about the fall of Rome and the assassination of two Roman emperors, Constans I and Gratians.
Long, long ago, in the year of 330 CE, there lived a boy in Genzano, Italy, named Hector Titus, who was a bit odd. He heard voices in his head and isolated himself from others. The voice of Roman gods like Timurus and Mars often controlled him and his actions. Hector Titus was what you call a schizophrenic.
As he grew up, his symptoms got worse. When he was 18, he was conscripted into the military.
Sometimes the voices were so strong he couldn't stop himself from giving in. They were telling him to kill members of his legion and even other German mercenaries.
Over the next 2 years, he killed numerous barbarians in his battalion.
Sometimes he would even bring in magicians or senators and stab them with a javelin.
During a battle with the Visigoths, the voice of Volupta, the Roman goddess of kindness and goodwill, showed up in Hector's head. Volupta had threatened to curse Hector if he didn't leave his legion.
Leave this legion. You are a disgrace to your army. You have killed countless allies in the battlefield. You are a traitor to your kind. You are the Romulus of the century, a murderer.
But Hector kept denying that he killed anyone.
I wasn't meaning to kill anyone. Mars and Timurus ordered me to.
I will curse you if you don't stop yourself this instant. I will make every other plebeian think you are just a crazy psychopath.
Stop! I will listen to you. Leave my head. I will run away from this place and never return.
On an afternoon near the Forum Romanum, 3 peasants were walking around the city near the Forum Square and the Piazza Navona.
I can't believe those patricians get away with murder. They get to sit here sipping their Laura and Posca in their fancy wine glasses. And us plebeians steal something to survive, like slaves, and get a huge penalty. Life in Rome is so horrible right now. I bet being captured by the Huns wouldn't be so bad. Have you heard the news? Emperors are getting killed every day. I bet there's a murderer running around town.
I wouldn't mind those wealthy pigs getting killed. They have no sympathy for the poor anyways.
As their conversation started heating up, the guards spotted 3 peasants gossiping about Rome and decided to come in and interrupt them.
I don't really like you peasants talking about Rome with such negativity like that. You might even be hung up by a heretic's fork and whipped to death if that attitude continues.
It was a normal Saturday, and Constans I was lounging in the Palazzo Colonna.
Due to failure of protection of the emperor's palace, Hector was able to sneak into the palace. The voices of Mars and Timurus were berating him again, and he was ordered to kill Constans I by poisoning the wine of the emperor.
I should probably reconsider this. I might get caught.
But the voice in his head were yelling and ordering him to kill the imperator. Hector Titus slipped into the kitchen when Constans I's servant, Helena, wasn't paying attention and dropped the hemlock into the glass.
On a Sunday night of 385 CE, Gratians was discussing matters with other merchants. A rumor was that they were treating illegal goods like poisonous wine.
I wonder who would be wandering out this late at night.
When will the Massolinum be ready? The guest is having dinner tomorrow night, and I need it as soon as possible.
Possibly tomorrow morning. Heavy alcohol-filled wines take longer to make. Plus, your citizens might be suspicious of you poisoning others with alcohol.
We will surely deliver it tomorrow morning at your palace. Make sure to forget our names. Gratians was planning to kill another senator, but Hector's voices were telling him to kill Gratians instead.
The next day, trying to get the murderous thoughts out of his head, Hector Titus roamed around the Piazza de Spagna, where he encounters Gratians again. When Hector saw Gratians again, the voice started appearing up in his head.
The voice had said things like, "That emperor is as horrendous as the previous one. Follow him and see where he goes."
Hector Titus snuck up behind Gratians and followed him to a caldarium.
Go up to him and drown him. He deserved it.
Stop, I'm going insane.
Finally, Hector Titus was sick of the voices yelling in his head, and he would do anything to shut them up. He walked up behind Gratians in the bath house and forced his head down the water, drowning him.
Both emperors ended up being killed by Hector Titus, one by wine poisoning and one by drowning in the caldarium.
For the murder of Constans I, Hector was able to frame Magnentius, the former Roman usurper, for the murder. Later on in life, around 360 CE, one day, with help of Venus's voice in his head, the goddess of love, she told him to find a wife. With a little help from the luck goddess, Fortuna, he later met a kind, strong-hearted Seneca and started over with a family. His wife, Carena, had taught him to control and block out the voices and was able to start a family all over.
The moral of our story is to tell you guys that you should always do what's right, even if it isn't easy. Sometimes you have voices and other people pressuring you into doing wrong things that you don't have to do.
Life for Hector would have been so much easier if he could not just listen to the voices peer pressuring him.